taking a fruit roll up and wrapping it around your spouse's penis, but it makes it sticky in a very salivating way. And it gives you something
Hmm.
to really work at. You have to lick and tease, and it kind of creates an exciting experience and a very tasty one if you are doing it.
Hello, friends. Here we are at the end of 2025. We did it. 2025's in the books, and we're looking forward to 2026. I'm thinking about some of the highlights for me personally and professionally for this year. I released 56 podcast episodes this year. I went to an amazing coaching and therapy training that I just learned so much that you'll never learn it in a textbook. You had to be there to experience it. And it's really increased the quality of my coaching skills. We sent a daughter off to college in another state, and she's had a great freshman year so far. Now she's home for Christmas, and it's so fun to have her back and see all the growth she's been in. I acquired a business this year, formerly the Dating Divas, now it's been rebranded to Date Your Spouse, and that's been quite a journey. My wife and I, we managed to get away 4 times this year where we found a babysitter and we just spent a weekend together. It was so fun. One of the most memorable ones we did is we did a multi-day backpacking adventure in a remote part of Utah, and we saw some amazing landscapes and canyons, and it was beautiful. I've been privileged to meet with over 100 couples privately this year and to work with them, to hear their story, and to work and counsel and coach them through intimacy in their marriage. I'm also halfway through graduate school, and if all things go according to plan, I'll finish in the middle of next year and start on my PhD. I'm looking forward to that. I've also had significant challenges and disappointments and limitations and shortcomings and growth experiences through it all this year. There was an experience I had earlier this year in May. Now, my children do karate, and I did a lot of martial arts as a teen and as a young adult myself. And we got invited to a seminar in Salt Lake City, which is a 5-hour drive north of where I live. And we get there, and it turns out it's a black belt seminar, and my kids are not black belts yet. So we're the only ones in this big sea, about 60 black belts, and it was very black belt. By black belt is the moves are the same, but you get really detailed on the nuances. It's like shifting your weight here, or you block a little bit in this way. It's also about the persona. It's the person of the martial artist and who you are, and the energy you bring and the attitude you bring influences so much of what happens in the martial arts scenario, whatever it is that you're doing. There's these little nuances, and they make a big difference in the way you do it. My purpose for this episode, as I round up the best tips from the year, is to encourage you to go a little bit deeper in your own relationship. And it doesn't have to just be sexually, but I want to push you to go in a little bit more intimately with your spouse. As you listen to these tips, think about how you can improve your ability to move in closer to your spouse and to be really present with them. Love is so precious. Love, receiving and giving love, is rare. So we need more of it. We need to develop that capacity within us to love well and to love even better. And I hope this podcast and the work through Get Your Marriage On inspires you to do your very best to love your spouse well. We're going to hear from a lot of guests today. We're going to give you a little bit summary of what they're about to say, and then you'll hear that clip, and then we'll move on to the next one. My first guest is Denita Bremer, and we talked about how to listen better to our own body and what our body is saying, even in sexual experiences. Here's what we talked about.
So my tip would be to narrate your experience. And I'm particularly thinking about what you are feeling on the inside during your experience of sex. And a couple things come up for me of why this is a black belt sex tip. The first one is that it requires you to slow down.
Yes.
The second is that it keeps you in the present moment. The third is that it's communicating to your partner, right? So then they get to know you and your patterns and, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that, right? So they're learning you. And I think it would be fantastic if it could be kind of a conversation where one partner goes first and then the next partner says something and you just kind of volley back and forth about, speaking out loud what you are feeling. The other thing that I like about this is that if you're focused on your own body, your own experience, then there's no like shame or blame around it. And so I think that can also create a sense of safety. It's like, oh, I don't have to like respond to my partner or, figure out what to do next. We're just speaking like, oh, I'm feeling this in this part of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel the urge to touch you here or whatever, right? We could
Right.
bring
Uh-huh.
in some of those, like, I'm going to do this next. But I was particularly thinking of just like the sensation level or the emotion level of the experience on the inside.
So this is more to the left. this is just narrating. This is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm feeling in my body.
Yeah, it's more like, oh, now I'm feeling this. Now I'm feeling that. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes something will feel really good
Uh-huh.
and then I lose it.
Yes.
Right? And then
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, now I can't feel hardly anything at all. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it would be very connecting, but also like we talked about these elements of safety and presence, groundedness, right? I think it kind of hits all of those
Mm-hmm.
things.
What Denita just shared is a powerful foundation, slowing down, staying present, and learning to narrate your internal experience. Once couples build that level of safety and awareness, it opens the door to something even deeper. So, in the next clip, Sophia Ashley takes us beyond physical technique and into energy work and Tantra, showing how breath, intention, and presence can transform sex from something you do into something you experience on a whole new level.
For me, the next step after that is really about adding some energy work to your practice and
Uh-huh.
deepening that connection so you can get to those juicier, more spiritual, even deeper levels of like connection. Because you need that baseline to get to that place. And that's where we add energy work, breath work, and tantra work to kind of the practice. But yeah,
What's energy work?
that's the fun place you can go. Well, I mean, tantra work is what's tantra? So I've learned a Tibetan lineage of tantra, and I think people get all funky about tantra sometimes. Tantra literally just means blending light and sound with form.
Mhm.
And so tantra work is the way I get explained is so sutra would be like physical work that we do. So it'd be like the physical moves that you do on your partner. If you're talking about like penis massage or vagina vulva massage, the actual like massage techniques or touch techniques are the sutras. And we
Okay.
do tantra when we add the physical work with the energy work of tantra. And that just means we're visualizing a color and chanting a sound and visualizing a shape of a certain elemental energy or healing energy that we work with. And so tantra is powerful non-sexually, and sexually it kind of does two things. One, it's a powerful healing tool for trauma. So it's a somatic healing tool where if I've essentially got a bunch of trauma in my vagina, my muscles are tense, I'm lacking sensation, or I'm experiencing pain and irritation, I've got to find where that trauma got locked into my muscles and massage it out, but also use energy work to help it come out of my energy system and my nervous system. That opens me up to more pleasurable sensation and connection and all that fun stuff. And then on the other side, it just helps us to go into like way deeper levels of connection. I worked with a couple a while ago now, and they talk about like they go to this place called the void when they have sex, when they
Uh-huh.
use tantric tools like outside of space and time. And they can be there as long as they want. It's like pretty wild. So that energy work piece just opens up the kind of sex people are expecting, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Or
in my
hope to
tantra
have.
practice, we
Yeah.
often talk well, we talk about how people just jam genitals together and hope for this like mind body like explosive thing, and you're like, no, we got to do like mind body soul,
Uh-huh.
heart mind and genitals here. So yeah, tantra would definitely be where it's at for people once they've really solidified their nervous system work.
That energetic depth that Sophia talked about is incredible. But for many couples, desire doesn't start in the bedroom after all. It starts way earlier. In the next clip, my guest, Macy Walters, brings us back into everyday life and reminds us how intention, investment, and emotional safety, especially earlier in the day, can completely change how we connect and how we open up and feel when it comes to intimacy.
This is something that I actually give newlyweds. So anytime I'm at a bridal shower and they ask for marriage advice or,
Uh-huh.
advice, something like that, this is my go-to. I think it's especially true for women, but sex
Uh-huh.
starts in the morning. And
Okay.
as soon as we're intentional about it in the morning, then we're kind of, getting ourselves excited all day. I always joke with my husband and say, my favorite position is when you're doing the dishes when I wake
Uh-huh.
up. For some reason, that just is like so it's I don't want to say a turn on, but it makes me feel like, okay, he hears me, he sees me, and he knows that in order for me to be in the mood later, X, Y, and Z need to be done before we
Mhm.
can kind of get in the mindset. And so that's
He's
what
invested.
yes, exactly. I can't enjoy the moment if there's dishes in the sink or if the kids are screaming or, I kind of have to just make my brain kind of turn off. And
Yeah.
it starts in the morning. It's when he's intentional about it in the morning, and when I see that he's doing that, I'm like, "Okay, I can get behind
Uh-huh.
this," and so
Uh-huh.
I start being more intentional, and we've always had success with it. So, it starts in the morning.
Here on the Get Your Marriage On podcast, we use a popular framework that a lot of people have found helpful in their own marriages, and it's that in a marriage, you'll generally have one person who has a more spontaneous desire pattern, and the other has a more responsive desire pattern. And we define that, but really the nuances of how to work within that yin and a yang, so to speak, those opposing yet complementary energies of spontaneous and responsive, can get a little muddy. And this is where my guest, Tammy Camp, she really shines at explaining this. And she uses a party planner metaphor and how you can show up to a party and have a great time. And you're going to like this tip.
Okay, so if you are the party planner right now, if you are that spontaneous desire, my black belt for you would be keep planning the parties.
Okay.
Do put out those fun invitations, create something that is just like powerful. Don't stop inviting. Make it about love, make it about connection, make it about choice. For the black belt tip for the person that is inviting, that has the invitation, is choose. Choose to show up. Choose to start seeing what your part is. That choose to accept the freedom that you've been given and see what that's going to change for you. See what desires may open up for you. See that you can own who you are in your sexual relationship and that it's totally beautiful and wonderful. And then for both of them, even though we collaborate in our relationships, we're never going to become each other.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that is that your party as the spontaneous is always going to be you. It is like has you all in it. And as the responsive, that has you that you've brought into it. And as you can create that for the two of you, there's space and it's beautiful and wonderful that you are very different. That's where the fireworks happen. You're different, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, and intimacy is fun and really cool when that happens.
When we allow ourselves to be who we truly are, attraction usually follows. In this next short clip, Melina Weeks shares a fun but meaningful insight into what turns her on about her husband and why authentic confidence and competence can be incredibly erotic.
Oh man. What's so sexy to me is this is gonna sound, and it makes sense, but so he's a cowboy. He grew up on a farm. They're ranchers.
Mm-hmm.
But when he starts like saying y'all and he's getting dancing and he puts his cowboy hat on, I don't know what it is, but I love me a cowboy. So if anyone hasn't tried that yet, go for it. Get yourself a cowboy hat, some boots. I love my cowboy.
Love it. That's great. What is it about it that you find so appealing? So
The hard work, the dedication in making things work out on the farm, and you're like when I watch him bale hay and like throw it to cows, I'm like, wow, that is a man. That is a nice man.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the hard work, the work ethic that speaks to my sexual soul.
Agreed, 100%. Attraction might spark desire, but emotional safety sustains it. In the next clip, Kendra Nielsen vulnerably shares how learning how to communicate her internal experience without shame completely changed her relationship to sex and helped her stay present instead of just checking out.
Anyway, it's communicating and allowing yourself to be open and vulnerable and processing things verbally. I had a lot of resistance to things. I just went along with a lot of things sexually based on how I thought it should and shouldn't look. And that made it very hard. And I'm getting a little vulnerable here for me to climax. It took me years. And so when I finally started to have more frank conversations with him about why things felt difficult, why I was like emotionally just checking out during sex.
Mhm.
Until I finally started to talk to him about that experience. And he listened so well. And lo and behold, sex started to get more enjoyable and I wasn't avoiding it as much and I was staying more present. So it was opening up and risking sounding maybe a little bit crazy when I didn't understand it myself and leaning on him to explore that together.
What I love about your story right there is it does take two.
Yeah.
It does take two. And what a blessing it is to have a husband that would listen and take it all in without shame or judgment. Because you're like, am I crazy? Because what I'm about to tell you, just, I don't know if this is going to come out. That's
Right.
probably why you haven't expressed it to that point in your marriage, because you're yourself even just questioning or judging, is this even okay or not? But you're able to work through that together. And lo and behold, things got better right after. So that's great advice. What I like about Kendra's story is it shows us how healing it can be to feel heard. Now, Jody Moore takes that idea even further by inviting couples into a powerful kind of conversation, not to fix each other, but to simply understand what your partner truly wants for your relationship and for your future together.
One of the things, and this can apply to sex, but it can apply to any part of your marriage. One of the things I think is cool to do is to sit down with your spouse and ask them, what do you really want for our relationship, for our
Yes.
future, for our
Love
maybe
that.
it's for your sex life, but just I think all of it is an
Uh-huh.
interesting conversation. And again, not because you're necessarily going to agree with it all or that you're looking for a checklist of what to do or who to be or anything like that, but just like it's so tempting for us to think that when we're communicating with our spouse, my main job is to get them to hear me, to understand my desires, my wishes.
It's kind of funny. We do that. We don't really listen.
Yeah. And I mean, just go into it with the sole objective of better understanding what they want. And you can even preface it with like, hey, I'm not saying this because I'm necessarily going to change myself at all. I just want to know you better because, we're not the same people we were when we got married 20 years ago. And we have different desires and different interests. And I'm just curious, what do you want for our future, for our relationship, for our sex life, for our family, for our money? What's your ideal? And I just want to hear it. I just want to know you better. And usually they're going to reciprocate and they're going to want to know what you want. But I think these conversations, I know I'm guilty of not having them enough with my spouse, where it's just so easy, especially once you have kids and jobs and all that, to go through the motions of like getting through each day and who's going to pick the kids up from school and who's going to take out the trash. And like, I feel like we lose sight of the fact that we can create anything we want in the future. And if we have discussions like that and we are working on things together, we'll have at least some shared objectives and goals. I think it can really create not just like getting through the marriage, but like really having it be an amazing part of your life.
Thanks, Jody. Now, those kinds of conversations create clarity, but clarity alone doesn't always lead to desire. In the next clip, Dr. Stephen Snyder offers a completely different approach, showing how awareness, rather than effort or performance, is often the missing ingredient to great sex. Now, sometimes I read a really good book and I want that author on my podcast. And it took me a long time to track down this author. And after 6 months of trying, he finally said yes. And it was such a great episode. I'm so glad I can bring this clip in to this roundup.
Most of the time, we're not functioning in a situation of awareness because we're involved with doing and thinking. But if you just kind of lay doing and thinking aside and say, hey, I'm interested in cultivating awareness, it's important to do this before you have sex. So in my view, in my book, I call this the two-step. And the two-step, step one is simply cultivating a state of awareness. And you can do that in bed together, or you can do it separately. And it involves really simple things, takes a couple of minutes, like eating a piece of fruit and just tasting the fruit, or taking a walk outside and looking at the color of the sky, or lying in bed and getting in touch with how your feet are doing, what the temperature is in the room, and what you can see as you just look around with absolutely no agenda. So the operative word for step one is a couple go to bed together with no agenda at all except to do absolutely nothing. As the Zen practitioner said, just don't just do something, sit there. So you just go to bed, you absolutely nothing. And if you feel like having a little chat together, that's fine. But you're basically just cultivating awareness. And once you've made that transition from doing and thinking to awareness, that's the good stuff. That's the soil from which all good sexual things come. And so if you want to experience your partner, if that's something that appeals to you, or if your partner wants to experience you in a way that they know appeals to you, well, that's fine. And my own sense is that desire is kind of optional when it comes to having good sex. As a religious person, I think of it as similar to looking for inspiration anywhere else in life.
Yeah.
I'm Jewish. I go to synagogue. I'm not inspired to go to synagogue, but once I'm there, I've got a couple hours. I'm looking for inspiration. I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm open to it. And so to me, it's the openness to inspiration, which can accompany cultivating a sense of awareness.
That is so good. And you can't force inspiration. It's not on demand just because you want it.
And what I would say is sometimes in a long-standing partnership, you'll experience a fair amount of inspiration. And sometimes you'll experience just a little bit. So and sometimes you'll just be listening for that still small voice, as they say in the prophets, or as we say in Hebrew, the kol demama daka. And you just find that still small voice and something about your partner or something about your experience, and you go, you know what, I can go with that.
But you need to be settled enough in order to hear it.
Absolutely.
Which I love.
Absolutely, because you won't hear it otherwise.
That awareness we just talked about sets a stage for something essential in eroticism, authentic enthusiasm. In the next segment, I want to share a core principle about healthy selfishness in sex. While enjoying your spouse for your own pleasure is often what makes intimacy truly come alive. And this is inspired in part by the in-person marriage retreats that we do as we talk about this in one of our segments. One particular couple at the retreat that inspired me about this talked about how once they learned how to incorporate this healthy selfishness in their sexual experience, it took sex to a whole nother level in their marriage. In short, there's a healthy level of selfishness and healthy level of narcissism that makes for great sex. Sex gets routine when it becomes this polite exchange. Okay, now it's your turn. Instead, you both need to tap into your inner 2-year-old sometimes, that part that just wants what it wants without overthinking it. That's when the real magic happens. Here's what I mean. Isn't it way more hot to passionately kiss your spouse because you love the feeling of their lips and their tongue on yours? Not because you're trying to get them to feel a certain way. Or another example, consider oral sex. Don't just give oral sex because your spouse likes it. Do oral sex on your spouse because of how pleasure it is for you to feel turned on as you turn on your spouse. Take pleasure in performing it. Isn't it way hotter when your spouse is going down on you and they're generally turned on and enjoying themselves in going down on you? That enthusiasm is what makes it so exciting. We did a podcast on this very topic a few years ago with Danielle Savory as my guest, and it's episode number 137 titled, Blowjobs Aren't Just for Husbands, to emphasize this point. For this woman asking this question, if you want hotter sex, tell your husband to stop worrying so much about your pleasure and instead for him to focus on doing you the way he genuinely enjoys doing you. It may feel counterintuitive for him at first, but encourage him to push himself, and both of you will unlock a new level of erotic fun that's way more exciting for both of you than just checking boxes. I want to clarify that this isn't giving you permission to touch your spouse or engage in a sexual act that they don't want or choose. That's crossing boundaries and is intelligent behavior. But what I'm trying to say instead is, when you can kind of let yourself lose your head a little bit and get in the moment and just do each other because it's fun to touch your spouse in that way or be with your spouse in the way, that's when things can get really hot and erotic. Now, of course, it's hard to fully enjoy sex when you don't feel comfortable in your own body. So in this next clip, Hope Orr shares a powerful story about how changing the way a woman sees herself can unlock confidence, desire, and a completely different sexual energy.
You remind me of another client who she was a mom. She's in her late 30s and she has all these kids. She's got little kids, so used to living in her role as being a mom and as a wife, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to have a session. She was from out of state. We have a number of clients who fly in from out of state to work with us. And she and her husband flew into Utah to work with us. And so when that happens, we kind of shift the schedule around a little. So she had her session one day, and then the next day she was able to come back and see her photos and pick out her favorites.
Gotcha.
So she had her session, and during her session, she kept telling me, I don't like my butt. I don't like my butt. My husband's always trying to take photos. I just don't like it. And I'm like, okay, trust me. I promise you, like, trust me. I'll get some photos and then you can see. If you don't like them, that's okay. So we did her session. She went home, and then the next day she came back for her image reveal, and she brought her husband with her so that he could help pick out her photos. And the first thing she said when she sat down was, Hope, something must have happened in my session yesterday, because this morning I got out of the shower and I saw myself in the mirror, and I didn't have any makeup on. I was just standing there naked. And she said, I looked at myself and I said, wow, I am beautiful. And she said, I've never done that when getting out of the shower before.
Wow.
That was just, the day after her session.
That's so cool.
So then we pull up her photos and she's looking through them. She's got tears in her eyes. She said, I didn't know I could look like that. And they pick out the photos that they want. They're so excited. And at the end, she turns to her husband and she says, well, I guess I'll let you take pictures of my butt now because I didn't know it looked that good.
And it was her favorite photo of all of them, probably.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So she, totally shifted. Something that she absolutely hated about herself and didn't like and didn't want photos of, totally shifted the next day where she's like, okay, let's take photos of my butt. So,
and from a husband's perspective too, like we as men, we could be like blue in the face telling our wives how sexy they were, how much we like their butt or their breasts or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
And they won't believe us. And then once they do this boudoir photo session, it's like something clicks in their head where they're like, I am finally seeing myself the way my husband sees me, or rather than the way I see me. And that's a great thing when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's why, so many clients end up saying, like, I had no idea that this was such a gift for myself. And it's a gift. It's a gift for your husband or your partner in a way that he gets photos, but it's also a gift for him in the way that it changes how you feel and how you show up in your relationship with him and how you show up in the world.
Confidence opens the door to playfulness, and sometimes that playfulness shows up in very practical ways. In this next clip, Caitlin shares some bold, honest, and surprisingly helpful insights about oral sex, communication, and how confidence and curiosity can dramatically change the experience for both partners. And based on my download stats, I know for certain my podcast listeners love episodes about oral sex and how to make it better. So this one's for you. So you've invested the more part of a year to getting really good at oral sex together as a couple. I want to hear your absolute best tips.
Yeah. For woman to man, I feel like my biggest tip is saliva. Like, the messier, the better. But I feel like my husband, the best thing he ever said to me was, like, I like when you, like, drool, when you spit and everything. And it got me thinking, because that's something he never said to me. We've been together, like, a decade. We've spent a lot of time together. And then to me, it just kind of made me realize that, like, it truly is better for both parties if there is more saliva, there's more spit, more contact of that, just because everything slides easier. And it's not a grind baking thing, but to me it kind of like really got me thinking. I was like, wow, okay, that makes sense. And then also that communication of his pleasure. And then my second best tip would be the mechanic of like your mouth and your hand moving together, because let's think, most of us cannot deep throat. We are not porn stars here. We are average people. We need to be able to include everything. So the rhythm, to me, of realizing that, like, okay, you don't need to actually fully wrap your hand around it, but using 2 fingers and a thumb, just enough with the mouth, you can get that full movement, and that it's great for men because they're fully getting pleasured and it's wonderful, but also the confidence that you're giving yourself because you're like, I know what I'm doing. I know this is going to feel good. And that kind of excites them as well. That confidence is sexy. And that's a huge tip for regardless of the gender, just going and I mean, like, I'm going to do this and I can take a criticism. Like, let's take ourselves down a notch. Like, being criticized isn't a bad thing. And I've gotten plenty from my husband about things because we're trying crazy things. But that feedback is important because maybe he won't maybe he wants the full hand. Okay, let's adjust our expectations. My next best tip is I want to call it throat training also. Like there's a lot of great tools you can use. They're called Good Head. They're throat numbing sprays. And they're a wonderful product to use if you want to start off getting a little bit more, let's say, vigorous with your partner, and you want to do things a little bit rougher. It kind of helps numb. But the one warning I give about these sprays is you don't want to get too used to them. You want to try them without. Try them without. Because you don't want to rely on anything to give you good head. You want your skills. And also you don't want that barrier that like, oh, wait, hon, I need to grab that. Like, if you want me now, have your way with me is my biggest word of advice. So just kind of training ourselves to do things in a different way by using the spray as a tool, but not the product. If you're going to do that, my best way, and it's very controversial, is if you sit on the corner of your bed and you tilt your head back and you kind of just open things up and you want to make sure your head isn't too far back. You can get a beautiful session through that way. But it's just word for the wise. Start off slow. Start off gentle if we're going to try, and then slowly build up your pattern with your confidence. But that has been a game changer doing that just because it's fun for everyone. Let's just say.
And so what you're describing is you're kind of laying on the corner of the bed or the edge of the bed you're laying on your back with kind of your head almost over the edge, and he is standing by the edge of the bed or near the edge of the bed for that.
Yeah, just kind of laying back, but not like, you don't want your head fully off the side of the bed so the blood's rushing. You kind of want just that tilted up, kind of 90-degree a little bit, just leaving things open so you can enter at your will.
Very good. Very good. Any other creative or fun ways to incorporate more, I don't know, just to kind of make it more lighthearted and fun?
Yeah, my out of the box, very exciting one is taking a fruit roll up and wrapping it around your spouse's penis. And it's not a common thought that a lot of women have, and I totally admit that, but it's fun just because it's taking a very tasty product and adding it to a very intimate area, but it has no side effects. It's not gonna burn. It's not anything crazy you have to worry about because it's something you can eat, but it makes it sticky in a very salivating way. And it gives you something to really work at. You're down there for a bit, and it's kind of exciting for the man to receive because it's not just a sucking motion. You have to lick and tease, and it kind of creates an exciting experience and a very tasty one if you are doing it. And my biggest tip is if you're doing it, do not wrap it like a candy cane. Just kind of do a little bit, goes a very long way. And then just remember to clean it off before you have any sex. But it's very fun because I like to do it for holidays, birthday kind of thing. Not an everyday thing, but it's kind of a fun once in a while thing as a couple, just because it's fun for me and it's fun for him. But it's not something that's very you have to pre-plan it for it. You can just buy a giant box and keep it in your pantry.
Nice. Or in your bedroom.
Yes.
That's good. All right. What are your best tips then for the other direction, a man performing oral sex on his wife?
Yeah. The biggest thing, if I think about it for me on our oral journey, receiving it is admitting to myself that I feel very vulnerable. And it's probably because of internal, external genitalia. If we get down to it, it's just because how you feel.
Oh, yeah.
But working on it, to me, the best way I feel confident is kind of relaxing and realizing that this is my husband. He knows me body and soul, and it's okay to open myself up. And once I get through that mental barrier, it was the sky is purple to me. Everything is brand new just because I found confident in my body and myself. So the biggest thing to me is figuring out to yourself how to feel confident and then embracing it. For some of my friends I've talked about, it's allowing like they ride their husband's face just because they feel more confident being on top, being able to choose like how much weight they press on themselves. And that to me, I think is empowering as well, because it's a lot of men out there who love that, who love it. So it's just great to see them try to take that confidence and boom it.
And for some couples, sexual growth isn't about technique. It's about perseverance and faith. So in this next clip, my friends Jennifer and Jeff share their journey after decades of marriage struggles and reminds us that healing, growth, and renewal are possible at any stage.
Well, by the grace of God, don't give up, because there's answers out there. I truly believe that, God made our bodies to share with each other. And it's finding the right counseling and the right answers to make your marriage whole. And that's what God intended for us, to share this wonderful abundance that he gave us. And so much we're raised not to talk about it, not to enjoy it as much. And it's a free gift from God. So why not do it? That's my thing. It's fun.
Yeah, that's true. And it contributes to your growth. It contributes to your maturity.
Both inside and out. I mean, we always had
Yeah.
we always had a good marriage, but we wanted a great one. And I feel today, after 43 years, I've always prayed about this kind of marriage. And we always had a good one. We've always had fun together, best friends, but just that one thing would tear us apart. I think it was heavier on Jeff than it was on me, but it's nice to be on the other side. And we want to share this with people because it's so great. And, you think it's going to take forever, but really once the ball starts rolling, it's like a snowball. The change happens really fast.
Really fast. It's just like a switch. And I wanted to add to anybody listening, and I'm not paid to say this, we're volunteering. Like if any of you can resonate with our story, I can't recommend enough plugging in to Amy or Dan or any one of them and getting some coaching, because the results are remarkable and the results are priceless. So can't recommend it highly enough. You guys are awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And finally, Lindsay Burns brings us back full circle to the power of intentional conversation. She shares how creating a simple daily ritual to talk about sex in your marriage, how to, get more comfortable talking about sex. If you can do that with more curiosity and playfulness, it'll help keep the connection alive far after the honeymoon phase.
I would say, and this may sound like I'm going back to the basics, but hang with me. I think like creating space within your marriage where you consistently are communicating about sex is the thing that took it to the next level for me and my husband. And it started with, we had a book of questions that, because sometimes you don't know what to ask,
Right.
but you want to have some prompts or something that gets you to a fun conversation. And we would ask each other questions every morning. Husband and I drink coffee every morning together. It's one of our little marriage rituals, and highly recommend that as well.
Yeah.
If you don't have something like that in your marriage, I think that's so helpful. But just creating that space where you're talking about sex frequently, not just when something's wrong, but it just allows you to bring things up and I feel like explore and just have more fun together.
That's good. Is there a particular question that you remember from those days?
One of the questions was asking what is something that you do or I do that always turns you on, and it's stuff like that. But then it would also have deeper stuff about fantasies, or I don't know. It would basically be having you recall sexual experiences together, and that's very intimate and that can be very spicy, you know. Yeah. And if you've never written, this is a good one too, Dan. If you've never written out a story of one of your favorite sexual experiences with your spouse and, read it to them or left it somewhere for them to find, that is spicy.
That's good.
Yeah.
I love it. Great.
Yeah.
All right. There you have it. Those are the highlights of our 2025 podcast episodes with their black belt sex tips. And I hope there's something you've listened to today that you can incorporate into your marriage right away. And 2026 is shaping up to be a great year for Get Your Marriage On. I invite you to participate in all the fun and all the festivities that we have planned. A lot of them are free. All of them are designed to bring you and your spouse closer together intimately and to take sex to the next level in your relationship. I believe sex is very profound. It's a profound way of communicating love and desire and belonging that words can't express in a marriage. It's the thing that sets your marriage relationship apart from everything else. It can be an incredible source of conflict and frustration, and also an incredible source of joy and happiness, and I don't know, just puts a smile on your face, the pep in your step. It's a thing that makes life worth living. So, infuse your marriage with goodness, with love, with deep, profound belonging, and strengthen that bond. Thank you again for listening to this podcast. Go share it with all of your married friends. I'm sure they'll thank you for life. And now go get your marriage on.